All right, thank you guys again for clicking on this video and watching. Reminder, follow me on Twitter because when I ask for Q&A questions, that's where I go right now to get those questions. Also, smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We've got some more questions to get through. I'm going to try and get through the rest of them today. Let's go ahead and kick it off with Nate Seipel. So NSeipel99 asks, which cities are there that desperately need a sports team, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, or hockey? I would say Chicago needs a second football team. Why not? Football, baseball, basketball, or hockey? I don't know much to say about the hockey front, so I'll stay away from that. I hope one city that doesn't get basketball is Seattle. Yeah, the hell with that. Y'all have the Sonics. You didn't get a stadium done. I don't care what your excuses are. You let them go. You don't deserve one back. Baseball, I don't know. Is there any place that it really makes sense? Because you get this weird place where you add one team. Yeah, I don't know. Football, kind of same deal. Like, I mean, where are you going to add football teams at this point? You've already got one in Vegas. Are you going to go back to Oakland or San Diego? Seems kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. At Mojo_Jojo1104. If you had to marry one of the Kardashians, Jenners, which one would you choose? Which one's the one that's dating Travis Barker? Is that Courtney? If I'm screwing up the names, like Chloe's the one that Tristan Thompson wants to cheat on, but then get all jealous when Lamar Oden's drooling on her, right? Like, I don't keep track of these sluts like some of y'all probably do. It would probably be Courtney. Just from what I've seen, perception from the outside looking in, she seems the most rational. She seems the most down to earth or in touch with reality. Not quite as full of herself. I would prefer not to. But if I had to, I guess that would be. At DeMarcus Flowers, out of the big four pro sports leagues, which do you think is the hardest to win? The Super Bowl, NBA championship, World Series, or the Stanley Cup? I think it's the World Series. I really do. You're dependent upon a 25-man roster. And you might say, well, what about the Super Bowl? Yeah, Super Bowl, you kind of got the, one and done thing throughout the playoffs. I think for baseball, what's a little tough to me is you go through a 162-game season, and then you got to have the right matchups. You got to be hot at the right time. You got to have, the right type of starting pitching. You got to have the right type of hitting. Like, yeah, I have a lot of things go right. And just the slog of the season, how long it is. You're talking about spring training starts in February, and then you're playing World Series baseball in October, maybe even the beginning of November. That's a long haul for a team to win a championship, so I might go with the World Series. At Super Eagle 100, if you could meet anybody in the world, dead or alive, who would it be? Anybody in the world, dead or alive, who would it be? Jesus, because I want to know whether he actually existed or not. Ooh. Flaming keyboard fingers of fire are blazing in the comments section. That's who I'd want to meet. Because I'd also like to ask him, like, assuming he is real, let's humor me for a second. I'd want to say, your heavenly Father is supposed to be all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful. But when you look at how fucked up this world truly is and the bad things that happen to genuinely good people, like, can you really say that he's all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful? He clearly can't be all three. Because no all-loving God would allow some of this stuff to happen. Or he's not all-knowing. Or he's not all-powerful. But let's say he is all-powerful. That might be the worst thing of all. Because that means he has the power to stop it and chooses not to. So fascinated. That would be the person I would want to meet. Joseph Moran, what are your opinions on Devin Booker as a player and MVP chances for him next year? Well, certainly this playoff run has elevated his profile. Devin Booker's still all of maybe 25 years of age or so. He's still got his best basketball ahead of him. He's a good reminder of, if you don't get a guy at the very top of the lottery or the very top of the draft, you could still come away with some absolute studs. I like his game quite a bit relative to the modern NBA, I guess. Certainly doesn't hurt his MVP chances for next year that his profile has been elevated, but I don't know if I'll go that far. At Mike Schmidt _007, give me a timetable for one of all the rookie quarterbacks will get their chances to start. Trevor Lawrence, week 1. Wilson, week 1. Trey Lance, halfway through his rookie year. Justin Fields, week 2. Mac Jones, week 6 to 10, somewhere in there. Kellen Mond, week 16 or 17 this year. If not, 2022, give me a chance. That would be my thought. At Craig HNIC, what do you think about the Rachel Nichols-Maria Taylor situation? Do you believe Maria leaked the convo to help secure the contract she desires? Would it surprise you? I used to think Rachel Nichols was okay. I now realize just how mistaken I was. That said, did Maria Taylor take this to garner some sympathy to give her some additional leverage? If she did, then my God, I underestimated her. More power to her. It wouldn't surprise me. And if she did, like I said, I salute her because that was a hell of a power play. Hell of a power play. Hell of a job of exercising and executing leverage in the public sphere. Especially if it results in more dollars in your bank account. It's fantastic work. At Splash Bro Kieran, if John Harbaugh won a second Super Bowl with the Ravens, do you think he'd be considered a Hall of Fame coach? He'd have 2 rings and he's already number 1 all time in playoff road wins. Oh, if he gets a second Super Bowl ring, yeah, he has to be considered a Hall of Fame coach. How could he not? Because he also would have won a second Super Bowl with a different starting quarterback. Like, that's not a small thing. Not a lot of guys do that. So, yeah. He wins a second ring, he's a Hall of Famer. At Bench Dalton Now, great Twitter handle. Do you think if Kawhi didn't get hurt, the Clippers would have won the NBA Finals this year? No. And it's woulda, coulda, shoulda. It doesn't matter because the bottom line is he did get hurt. But I don't think they would have. Although I was thinking it for a while that this might be their year and they might get all the way. Like, no. At _PetGod, pros and cons of living in Richmond. Pros, the best place I've ever been career-wise. Weather's better than the Midwest. Living in a house, there are good things, certainly. I like the fact that I'm in not a small city, but not in a massive city. Cons, cost of living's a little higher because you're still somewhat classified as being a DC suburb, even though you're not technically, you're close enough. Cons, being out here, I really still don't know a ton of people out here, 8 years after moving out here. So it can get a little lone at times, but it's okay. Cons was, if you watched the old OTR Central channel, which was where we talked about wrestling, miss hanging with the dudes and doing the show with them. So those are some of the cons. At Kuiper _123, what is the best course of action for the Chiefs handling the arrest of Frank Clark and his massive contract? I guess you just wait and let things play out and see how they fall where they may. Not a great look, especially for a guy. Didn't Frank Clark have some domestic violence history there too? So you're driving a Lambo SUV and you've got an Uzi in there. More important question is, why are you driving a Lambo SUV? Calls into question some judgment, that's for sure. Dane the Funky Homo Sapien, most egregious, possibly rigged officiating you've ever seen in any sport for and against your team. Because being a fan of a lot of the Chicago teams, you tend not to have as much of that rig shit go against you because you're a bigger market team. The one year in the playoffs with the Sacramento Kings and the Lakers, that's certainly to me a very, very notable example of it, of some rigging. You know, it certainly seems like, you know, there are questions about that Super Bowl between the Seahawks and the Steelers many years back. I don't know, like egregious. Like at the moment, I'm drawing a blank. I can't really think of one. At Super Eagle 100, who do you think will win Comeback Player of the Year in the NFL this year? I have no clue. I haven't even thought about that for 1 second. At Jay Schweber, should the Chicago Bears attempt to sign Richard Sherman? Depends on the price. Does he really fit their scheme? Like, what is he going to bring to the table? I guess you kick the tires, make the call, and see what you got. But I don't know that he's a great fit for what they do defensively. At Fork 34, was Steve Young ahead of his time? Maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little bit. He's one of the most accurate passers in NFL history. Had great arm talent too, but he was a phenomenal athlete. You know, yeah, I think he might have been a little ahead of his time in some ways. Let's see here. At Tylo237, within the next decade, expansion is more likely than a reality for the NFL. If when it happens, do you think Chicago would support another NFL team? If the Bears continue to suck, I wouldn't be that surprised. Do I think it would be allowed to happen? No, I absolutely do not. I can't see it. I can't see it happening. As much as it might intrigue me, as much as it might be cool, I don't see it happening. At Vinny E_21, who would make your NFL Mount Rushmore? NFL Mount Rushmore. And I think of that, I'm thinking like in this case, similar to where my head initially goes, is some of the founding fathers of the game and some of those that played the most instrumental type of role. George Halas, Red Grange, Burt Bell, and I'll throw somebody in there like Jim Thorpe. Just from like a historical standpoint. That doesn't mean the four most important people in NFL history or anything like that, but just throwing that out there. At King Jordan 8476, thoughts on the Cubs and what they should do? Rebuild or retool? Rebuild. It's over. It is over. You could potentially see the retool, but got to play poor baseball because the Ricketts own them, so it's got to be a rebuild. At Sash Daddy 2, which rookie wide receiver would most likely have a breakout season this year? I wouldn't be surprised if it's Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit. I'm not just trying to go with one of the obvious, like, hey, these guys got taken in the first round answers. That would be a guy that I would say, like, he's going to get opportunities in Detroit. That would be a guy, like, outside of the Waddles or the Chases or the Smiths. Like, I was looking for somebody a little deeper in the draft. That's somebody I would point to and say, you know what, he might have a decent rookie season. Ad Sales Savant, winners and losers from day one of the MLB draft. Didn't even pay attention, so I couldn't tell you. Jay Hay asks, where do you think Giannis will end up on the all-time list when his career is over? Man, what's he still, like 25 or 26? I really don't know, and that's not me trying to duck it. It's just he's got a lot of career left. We're in the middle of an NBA Finals where he has a chance to win his first ring. Could he go down as like top 20, top 25, top 30 all time? Absolutely. Maybe higher, maybe a little lower. But he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. I think there'd be no question at this point that he's going to be. But I'm not sure just how high up he's going to be. I don't know. So thank you guys for sending off all your questions. Hope I got to pretty much all of them. This has been fun. Thank you. And we'll do it again next week. I got some other content coming up on the channel this week, so stay tuned for that.